So let's kind of introduce ourselves a little bit. Let's set some ground rules for this discussion, and then let's get right into it. So, Herb, will you introduce yourself to our friends that maybe don't know you yet?
Be happy to. My name is Herb. The H is pronounced. I use he, him pronouns, and I had VSG surgery in May of 2022. 1? 1. Time flies when you're having fun, friends. I onboarded a GLP-1 medication about 18 months ago. I am also a peer moderator in BariNation, my favorite community, and I'm really happy to be here.
We are thrilled that you are here. So, not only are you an amazing leader in our community, but you also have been trained in this really, I don't know if it's a protocol, but it's a system for having an engaging, thank you, with difficult conversations. It's called crucial conversations. And while the protocol, the system is really built for when you're, having these challenging conversations in the work environment, they absolutely apply to our friends and our family. So Herb is going to kind of walk us through what a crucial conversation is, how we can enter into one, how we can exit one or extricate ourselves from one if we're not ready yet. So a lot to go through there. Okay, Miss Nat, let's go to you and then me.
Yeah, so I'm Natalie. I'm a co-founder of BariNation with April and Jason. I've had three bariatric surgeries. So I had lap band in 2009. I was 15, 350 pounds. So I've battled obesity literally my whole life, as many of us have. I then had a revision to plication, which now they're kind of calling the ESG, like forget what the E stands for. So, I had that in 2011 and then had my revision to VSG in 2020. Best decision I ever made. And it led me to creating Berry Nation with two of my buds and meeting Herb and all sorts of awesome people. If you're watching this and you're on the fence, if I can do it 3 times, you can do it once.
Truth. Truth. My name is April Williams. I had VSG in July of 2019. Same thing, her fun times when you're having fun. Yeah, and started Variation because we saw a need for a type of support that we couldn't find when we first started off. So, Variation, first and foremost, is an organization that supports you. It supports anybody who is fighting or struggling with the disease of obesity. It doesn't matter what type of treatment you have onboarded. None of it matters. What matters is that you're fighting a disease and you're looking for some support as you learn what it means to fight a lifelong chronic and progressive disease. So that's what BariNation is in a nutshell. We're patient founded, patient voice, patient everything. And we're really there for the in the moment support. How this conversation is coming up tonight is there have been a lot of conversations and asks by members in our Berry Nation community. So this is our private community where live support groups, classes, and meetups happen. And many of them were expressing big emotions about the state of the world and the state of the nation, and wanted to know, okay, how do I live through this, or how do I live with this? How do I do this? I am so angry, raw, you fill in the blank. And we have been providing that support always, but especially these last 2 weeks. And after this weekend, it just became clear that this conversation needed to happen in a little bit more of a public space because people needed to know that it's okay to have these big feelings. And we can hold two things that seem to be contradictory at the same time, right? I feel you fill in the blank. And I also need to stay focused and dedicated to myself, my personal needs, and my health journey. So, this conversation tonight, friends, is not about unpacking any event that is happening in the world. That is not what we're here for. So, we're not going to be talking about that. This is not event specific. This is not political. This is about our disease of obesity and how we live with a chronic disease and also living at the same time that these really difficult things could be happening in our world. And when really difficult things are happening in our world, right? Our fight or flight system is triggered, our cortisol rises, and that creates a lot of things. And sometimes that makes it hard for us to engage with the part of our brain that we want to be there. So the goal of this conversation tonight is that you leave understanding why you could be feeling the way that you are, that we can kind of serve as your witness to how you are feeling, and that we talk about strategies and tools that you can use in this very moment moving forward to help you protect your energy and agency if that is something that you want to do, and also protect your health and your well-being. So that's what tonight's conversation is all about. Guys, did I miss anything? Does that make sense?
I think it makes
Makes
total
sense to
sense.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I would add is that we are obviously aware of the world. This is not in any way trying to deflect or hide from the events that are happening. This is just a space for us to gain tools on how to process and treat ourselves as we, like April said, are fighting this disease and also just so happen to be living in the world being in the state that it is. So I just want to make that very clear that like we are not deflecting, we're not hiding from the conversation. However, this is not where the conversation will go.
Mhm.
So
Yep. Very, very well stated. Thank you, Nat. And friends, we also know that there is a lot happening on social media channels, and some people are choosing to step away from social media for a while. That's fine. We're actually going to talk about that tonight. If you want to stay in touch with BariNation, but you don't want to do so on the platform, which we're allowed to say, please, you guys comment the word email. We'll send you a link and you can join our newsletter. We send it once a week. Herb actually used to do it for us. It was freaking amazing. But every week it is a little blurb about the podcast. It's some education that we pass along. It's not spam. It's not fluff. It is real kind of in the moment support. So we invite you to join that newsletter list if you would like to. We never sell information. We don't do any of that. We are a small little organization, my friends. So if you would like to stay in touch with us outside of social media platforms, comment the word email on this live. You get a link and you can join our newsletter. All right. Well, maybe a place to start is where we invite all of you to start, which is taking time to actually name your feelings, right? We do this oftentimes in our BariNation groups. We're asked to give our feelings and our emotions a name, to get them out of here, and out there. Would either one of you like to go?
Well, I can start. I am feeling weary. My heart is sad, my soul is tired, but in those moments we still have agency over our own body, right? And so everyone watching and Nat and April, I'll invite you to take a deep breath through your nose, put your hand on your chest, breathe in a little bit more, and audibly exhale. Ah, I feel better. Do you?
yeah.
When you take the time to do that, it helps you reconnect with your body,
Mm.
right? Because I can feel my chest expanding. I can feel my abdomen taking up more space. I can feel my hand on here. And as of these last couple of weeks, I can feel my heart beating a little bit louder and stronger.
hmm
One of the most powerful sentences that I came across a few days ago, and we're going to talk about this, and thank you for bringing this up, Herb. Our body is not designed to help us work through injustice. Our body is not the battlefield that we fight injustice with. It's just not. And so many of us, as people with the disease of obesity, have been fighting and in a battle with our body for a very long time. We don't trust it. We don't understand it. We think that it lies to us. It just hasn't felt like a good partner, at least for me. But as I move through my own treatment of the disease of obesity, I have to connect with my body again. And in doing so, I'm realizing I'm asking it to do a lot of things that it's just not built to do and it doesn't want to do anymore.
hmm
And if my choice in these moments of trial and tribulation and heartache, if I choose to take action, I have to have a body ready and prepared to act.
hmm
So I appreciate that call to like, hey, let's just check in with what we have right here. Thank you, Herb. Now, how about you? How are you feeling?
Um, well, I was going to say exhausted, but I also think that weary fits very well. Depleted is another one that I've been using lately. Again, to what you said, Herb, just feels like there's a lot of energy expending from my body and not a lot of the gathering and saving. So, yeah, I think depleted will be my word.
Okay. I love it. My word, which is not going to be surprising, is enraged. I am feeling enraged.
Mhm.
And I tend to move immediately into action when I'm feeling this way. And I think both of you and really the BariNation community has given me this permission to be like, why don't we just sit with this? Why don't we name this? Why don't we understand this? Why don't we really wrap our heads around what you are feeling and why you are feeling that way? Right? Because under the rage are some softer emotions: fear, disappointment. I'm scared. I feel hopeless. And that's not a good place for me to be, because I felt that way before bariatric surgery. And it's a little bit worrying to go, oh my God, I'm feeling the same way now that I was before surgery. But this is about two very different things. But that feeling is known to me. And that's hard. That sucks.
Mhm.
That sucks.
Can I put a pin in that for a second, April? Because one of the notes that I wrote down, and this is directly, if there's any crucial conversation, national folks, I am not teaching a course on crucial conversations. I am just providing informed opinions. One of the things they talk about is when you're trying to decide what is the topic of this conversation you're having. And in this instance, it's a conversation you're having with yourself. Is if you're focused on the wrong thing for this conversation, there are these types of feelings that are going to come up. I'm reading from my notes. Your emotions escalate. You leave the conversation with yourself skeptical. You've had this conversation with yourself repeatedly before. Your heart rate spikes. That's been happening a lot on my Apple Watch. You feel defensive or shut down. It feels too risky. So when those feelings come up and you're trying to protect yourself, I think that's a signal to ask yourself, what's actually going on? You're feeling enraged. Okay, why are you feeling enraged? Have you been getting enough sleep so that your mental state can handle the influx of news that's coming in? So, if you can take the moment to pause, pivot, look outside of yourself, and ask the whys about the feeling as opposed to just dwelling in the feeling, you're on your way to calming yourself or re-centering yourself or re-regulating yourself to be ready for that next breaking news story that might be coming in, right?
Right? When we're often talking about this type of conversation, I think what gets lost in the sauce is that the most important person we have to have a conversation with every single day is us. And I don't know about you guys, but I ask myself a billion questions a day. And I very rarely stop to actually answer them with any logical sense. It's like, oh, this is an issue. This is a problem. This is how I'm feeling. What is the quickest way out of that feeling? And what I heard you saying, Herb, is this is our first invitation to actually pause with ourselves and answer the question that we're asking tonight. And the first one is, how what am I feeling? Name our feelings. And what you just gave us, why am I feeling this way?
And this is something a therapist taught me a long time ago, but when the worry comes into my brain, and this happens many times a day, here's a little insight into Herb's brain. I literally take the thought, I look at it, and I say, is there something I can do to impact change on this worry right now? If there's not, I take it out of my brain and I put it on the shelf because that worry is still going to be there. We're human. We worry by nature. But if there's something in that moment you can do to help with the worry, even if that's just to tell yourself you're okay, that's an action, right? If there's something you can do to impart change on the worry in that moment, do it. But if there's not, put the worry aside right now. It's still going to be there. I think of the those characters from Inside Out and Inside Out 2.
Mhm.
I like to think of those in my brain a lot.
I love that. I do my therapist also, "Go to therapy. This is
Yeah,
my
and
plan."
to be clear, I am not a therapist. I don't play one on Instagram or in BariNation, but these are tools
No.
that work for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, my therapist said that worries look like cobwebs,
Mm.
and what do we do with cobwebs? We sweep them away, we clean up. So a lot of time I even do this, physically. I'll literally take it from my brain, and I'll kind of like I'm taking the cobwebs out. I can't because sometimes, as someone who struggles with anxiety and depression, those cobwebs can become pretty thick pretty quickly. I mean, like there's and also sometimes those worries or those fears are not actionable. I can't do anything, but that, like you said, Herb, just the act of like taking it out and either like brushing it away, I can't do I'm still doing something. I'm
Mhm.
still taking an action. So in the moment it helps, but it's interesting. I've never heard of it as like putting it on a bookshelf. Mine's always been like get the cobwebs out, and physically doing it really,
Yes.
really helps.
Well, and the research shows, right, that when we are living in a season, in a moment of profound stress, and the inputs are coming at us at an unprecedented rate, it is very difficult to feel like you can even take a breath. It's very easy to instantly go, "Oh my god, I can't do anything about this." And that flood of information and that flood of cortisol and that fight or flight just it it just ramps up. And as somebody said, yeah, our primitive brains were designed. Fight or flight is a tool for us to stay alive when we were being chased by tigers, right?
Mhm.
And all of the research on like human physiology and anatomy says that, right, this was there to protect us. But you're not running from a tiger 24/7, right? You are not in that state. And in the older human civilizations, they would have these moments of, "Oh my god, something's out to kill us." And yeah, you're raised. But then as a community, as a group of people, you are physically working out those feelings, right? Through dance, through song, through connection, through movement. And in today's day and age, if you are not in control of the device that you're probably watching us on right now, you are getting, as Herb said, 4/7 glass of information, and you are taking that in, and your brain is absolutely stir frying itself on the amount of information that is available to us.
And when you're feeling that way and you name the emotion, what is the thing you can do in that moment? Believe it or not, friends, you can put this device you're on down. You can put it on silent. You can turn it off. You can log off. And I highly recommend it. Not until this hour is over, however.
That's one of my favorite things. I talked about this in BariNation, I think on the struggle bus there. I get up at 4 a.m. every day because I have to commute to work an hour. Let me tell you, friends, we are looking at moving because I am not doing this for the rest of my life. Uh, but I mean, bedtime is 8 o'clock. Like I have to be asleep by 8 o'clock. My phone goes on do not disturb. If it's not on do not disturb by the time I walk in the door, it is on do not disturb by 7 p.m.
Mhm,
every single night.
mhm.
Um, and I put it away. I read. I cuddle my dog Hooper. I talk to my mom. What can I do that is physical? Like I can touch it and see it physically.
Mhm.
Uh, and that has been invaluable.
Yeah. Her when you were talking about like naming our feelings, and then how you said like, let's get that out in front of us and say, okay, can I do something about this now or not? How do we move through that moment when A, we feel so strongly about the thing that is happening in front of us in the moment, right? And it goes against our values, our ethos, our core. It goes against who we are as a person. And we want to do something about it because we are so angry. How do we put that down, or how do we give ourselves permission to hold both in the same space? And maybe I'm answering my own question. This is a big deal. This is important to me. I don't have the energy, capacity, or agency to do anything about this right now. So I'm going to put this here for later on today. Is that a strategy?
Yes, and we talk a lot about in crucial conversations searching for the elusive and or the elusive but, the elusive connector. Two things can
Mhm.
be true at once. I can be outraged about the murder of someone protesting in Minneapolis, and at the same time, I can still realize that I need to be a functional human being and take my son to school and go to work today, right? Just
Mhm.
because you are fulfilling the obligations that you have does not mean you're not equally outraged about that thing as well. So I don't know if it's, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, I would say, as the put it on a shelf metaphor. But um, in that instance, I would argue, in that white hot rage moment, there might be something you could do in that moment when you're feeling that. We all have time, talent, and treasure we can give one of those three. And so you might be able to take a initiative to donate to a GoFundMe or share a news article on social media. I know I just argued to get off social media, but there might be something you could do to act upon that white hot rage that you were feeling that might turn down the temperature a little bit. We need to get away from the idea that two things cannot be true at the same time.
Mhm.
Would you say that again? Time, treasure.
We all have time, treasure, and or talent that we can give at any moment in time. We can donate, we can use our talents for good. Wait, time. We can volunteer, time, treasure. We can donate or talent. We all have talents. Like I can. I've made whistle kits for my neighborhood. I want to start knitting resistance hats, although I don't know if I'm a very good knitter enough to do that. Um, so that's something that you can think about in the moment when you're feeling like hot rage about what's going on in the news right now. When you take that feeling off the shelf, is there something you can do in that moment that'll help tamp that down a little bit?
Mhm.
I didn't have the words for it, Herb, but that's kind of what I've been doing at my job, right? Like um I have a very diverse student population. Literally today in global history, we had a talk about what's going on, and it was a very non-political. It was just like, hey, this is what's happening. Let's talk about it. And so I can be there for my students if they're feeling upset, if they're worried about their friends or their families. I can be there. I can be a safe person. Um, we talked about, I mean, students were actively, and again, high school guys, high schoolers don't normally engage in discussions. Um, we ran right up till the period ended because they had questions, they wanted to talk about it. And I think for me, something I learned in that moment today was instead of doing this, right, scrolling on my phone, getting more and more enraged and holding it in, I need to talk about it. I need to actually talk and understand about what is happening and encourage my students to be diligent citizens, right, and be informed. What's information versus propaganda? How do we decipher it? I mean, we really had an enriching hour today, and I left feeling really good. And I took note of that because I went, I feel really good after talking about something that is genuinely devastating. Um, why is that? And I knew we were having this conversation today. So I went, oh, it's because I had a critical conversation with my students and with other teachers and adults. But I think it's we get in this state of paralysis. I
Mhm.
not speaking for anyone but myself, but I get in a state of paralysis where I need more. I need to know what happens, but it's all the same stuff that I'm looking at and just making me feel more and more and more hopeless. Um, but by taking the time, right, to act, in different ways, I really felt relieved. I feel lighter
Mhm.
today.
Mhm. I think in our modern age, we often confuse this type of format, right? Or typing something out as talking about it, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Your words spoken out of you to another human, even if it's virtual, even if it's this kind of environment, is what helps recognize the emotions and move them out. It is that connection that helps us process what we're doing here and move it out. But if this is all we're doing, if we keep word worrying or we're sending articles or we're doing this and all we're saying is, oh my God, can you believe this? Oh my God, you are left in a state of paralysis because it's just too much to comprehend. It's too much to understand and it's too much to act on.
Wish you could have been in my body when you were telling that story now, because I had full on body chills and tears because we
Yeah.
talked. April shared in BariNation. I shared the phrase "joy is an act of resistance." Toy Derricott, look her up if you don't know her. What a wonderful act of resistance you provided today,
Mm.
right? You being in community with folks, talking about things and helping them learn about what's going on in the world, process the emotions they might be feeling. What a lovely and beautiful act of resistance
I
performed.
I truly, the person that was leading, again, not to get too political, but isn't an immigrant, was speaking about DACA, what is happening, and just provided, it was supposed to be like a half hour talk, right? Just a half hour, hey, this is what it is, these are resources. It ended up being an hour long, engaging conversation from both students. There were about 4 teachers in there with including myself. It was a discussion. It
Mm.
wasn't pointing fingers. It wasn't a this is what we're doing right or wrong. It was just a this is what's happening,
Yep.
right? And the person who was leading, he's one of our counselors for our English as a second language students. Um, and obviously he goes, if you want to talk about this and process emotions, come on over. Let's talk about it. Uh, I almost cried several times in that room because it was beautiful to see young people, older people, all having these conversations um, in a really, I don't want to say platonic is not the right word, but in just a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. You're both talking about joy as a form of resistance. And I want to spend a little time on this and I want to offer some context, right? When things are going on in the world and we have a difficult time making sense of it and we have just a lot of these big emotions, right? That we've been talking about all night. It can feel odd to hear the phrase, right? Joy is an act of resistance. That doesn't seem to mesh in any situation. But I know it has been a true piece of human wisdom for a very long time. I've got books on my shelf from Holocaust survivors that talk about what kept them alive was joy, was tapping into their agency. So resistance to anything that is happening in our lives that we feel doesn't mesh with our values. That is a definition of resistance, right? You see something happening in the world, it doesn't align with you and who you are, and you feel that you want to resist that. That's what we're talking about. So, how can joy be a tool to help us resist the things that we feel go against our values?
Joy is not the thing in and of itself. It's the butter we spread on the action. If we're bringing joy to the thing that we're doing, that is going to help. For example, Nat, what you're talking about, that was a joyful conversation, right?
Hmm.
Right. So the conversation that she had joy with it, right? Trying to bring it back a little bit in line with our bariatric lives. What is movement that you could do to help restore yourself that contains joy? It's like a plus one, right? It's like a level up on the action that you're doing. What
Mhm.
is I don't wanna drink this water, but you know what brings me joy? Putting in some grape, sugar-free liquid, which I forgot to do before this started. That brings me some joy, right?
Yeah.
And now, is putting in sugar-free grape liquid an act of resistance? No, that's silly. But what saying joy is an act of resistance does is it helps fill our bucket back up in order to provide the resistance that we might want to in life. Does that make sense?
Yes. What I hear from you is saying, or in this moment of you wanting to resist, if you take a step back and you say, where can I inject or where can I find joy or where can I connect with hope again in my world? What is in my control, right? What's in our agency, what's in our control are a lot of times the things that we do for our health. And in that post that you shared with us, Herb, you even said, like, dare I say, living and checking off our BariNation pillars of bariatric success is a form of joy and therefore resistance because I'm doing things that I need to do for my well being to be healthy and well if and when the time comes for action, the action that I want to take. And if we find joy in doing the things that we have control over, it will allow us to have more time and space to do the thing that we want to resist against.
And I feel it's important to say if you are feeling some sort of way about something that's going on in the world today, it is okay to sit in that white hot rage or that grief. Sometimes the answer about what's going to bring you joy is you need to ride through that storm, right? And but you need to ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? Like I just need a day to like sit back and like experience this deep-seated anger that I'm feeling. But then you begin the next day. Shout out bariatric beginners if any of you are on the call. Every day is a brand new day. And you begin again because you've taken the time to reflect, think about things that are going on, and decide where you can take action, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it does take time. There, in moments of hopelessness, I can feel like I can't do anything about this, even though I know that's not true. I know that's not true. But if I instantly go from my feeling to action, I've missed the most important step. And that is, what can I do that will be effective and helpful for me and for others? But if I'm just going from one thing to the other, I'm never taking a moment to connect with myself, to ensure that my body is not processing that injustice, right? To not make me and my body a battleground for whatever I see out there. And joy is a part of that because joy helps us stay connected to hope. And
Mhm.
hope is the missing ingredient, I think, for many of us
Mm.
in this moment, in this world.
I love what April said in the chat. That was fire. Um, she said, "I saw a quote the other day. The amount of good things in your life that bring you joy depends on your ability to notice them."
To notice them, you've got to stop and notice, right? The
Exactly.
pause and pivot, like we say all the time in variation.
All the
Exactly.
time.
I around the holidays always get very nostalgic. Think about my loved ones that have passed. You guys know I was very close with my grandma, and I just decided to enjoy the little things. You mentioned butter, Herb. I eat a slice of bread and butter every single morning. That is the first thing I eat every single day for the last 2 months because I love it. It makes me feel safe and it's okay, and then I can go about my day, right? Those little joys, I love having my homemade bread and butter ready and accessible for me every single day. That is great. It makes me happy, makes me feel comfortable, and I wouldn't say relaxed, but comfortable, right? Like, okay, this is a little joy. Um, and life is hard. I think despite even what's happening in the country, life is difficult. Um, Finding the little simple joyful things, a hot shower,
Mm,
bread and butter first thing in the morning, drinking your water with the grape flavoring or drinking a bubbly water. Um, it all adds up. It all adds up to
Mhm.
filling our tank.
If we are not protecting our energy and our agency, we're not going to have any of it to give to others if that's what we choose to do. And we all have a hard time doing that. We all have a hard time putting our needs first because we feel that it's selfish or it's this or it's that. But we cannot uh, do the things that we want to do if we are not making ourselves that top priority. And it feels hard when it feels like the world is on fire. But as my mom reminded me this morning in a conversation, she's like, it's the same news, right? Every breaking news story is not a breaking news story. It takes about 1 minute to be caught up to speed from a single news source that you trust. And now you are up to speed. Now you can move on with your day. But when those inputs are just coming at us constantly, or we are invited into conversations that we don't feel comfortable having yet, that can really test our boundaries. And that's what I want to talk about next term. So
Read
when
my
the world,
mind.
right? Because we're the same human. We're all the same human. And I've said this word a lot, input. We constantly are bombarded with new things. And sometimes we have to really step back and limit the inputs that we get. And in times that feel chaotic, there will be people that will want to talk to you about something, and you might not want to have that conversation. Or you might be in the middle of that conversation and you quickly realize, this is not safe. I don't feel well. I can't have this. So what can we do to either prevent that conversation from happening or remove ourselves once it's started?
It's so simple and it's so hard. You don't have to have a conversation with anybody. So, but you can say that in a kind way. So you say, if someone's talking about something that you're like, like, thank you so much for sharing that. I hear what you're saying, but I'm trying to protect my peace in this moment and I'm trying to really stay grounded. So I'd appreciate if we could maybe touch on this later. Right.
Yeah.
I think folks struggling with the disease of obesity are uniquely qualified to be demure in these situations. One of the gifts I feel like bariatric surgery and like reclaiming my body has given me is I'm kind of an expert at this conversation at this point in my life. Like, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And I hear what you're saying, but why don't we talk about this later? Because I'm just not in the right headspace to have this conversation. And if you start having the conversation and it's like totally going off the rails, this is a point in crucial conversations as well, but you are totally within your right to say, I feel like conversation is not productive. Do you mind if we put a pin in this? Maybe let's go back and think about things and can we re-engage on this another day?
Hmm.
All totally valid. And if
Yeah.
they react negatively, that's their problem. That's not your problem. You are protecting your peace and you are doing what you need to do in the moment to be aligned to not only not really your bariatric goals, but just your goals as a human being on planet Earth.
Oh, God, yes. There have been plenty of conversations that I've found myself in and very quickly realized, oh, I am not prepared. I'm not ready. I don't want to have you fill in that blank. And it has been a great thing for me to be like, oh, you know what? I need to stop us here. I'm having a difficult time understanding what you're talking about, or I'm just having a really difficult time focusing on this conversation. Can we can we have this tomorrow?
Mm,
And it's been a really powerful lesson for me because before I would have just drugged myself through this conversation, not been fully present, not been engaged, not been any of this. And I'm having a second conversation in my head up here about it. It's like it just spirals into something totally out of control. But for me to just be able to say, I'm so sorry, I cannot concentrate on this right now. My brain is not with you. My brain is with someone or something else.
Yeah.
And that's truthful, right? And people know usually when you're being truthful and they know when you're putting them off. So if I can
totally.
connect my uncomfortability to what is really going on up here and be truthful about it, the answer is always yes, because I'm not having the conversation anymore.
Yeah.
Why it's really hard is you have to look outside of yourself because you have to Notice when what I talked about before, your heart rate is rising, your cheeks are flushing, you're super frustrated. In those moments, are you going to have your best and most honest conversation? No, you're going to retreat to your corner and like put up your dukes emotionally, right?
Mhm.
So it'll be more impactful if you can have a real honest conversation when you've regrouped, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just this weekend had to say to someone very close to me, I don't have capacity to receive this right now. Uh, can I come to you when I'm ready to talk about this? Uh, and it truly caught them off guard, right? Because for the last 31 years of my life, it has been exactly what you said, Herb. Not an honest conversation on my end because I take a long time to process. I mean, I know April and Jason know this very well. Herb, you've probably noticed this too, but I need time to take in what someone is saying or information or, what have you. If an event occurs and someone wants to talk about it right then, I'm still sorting through my own thoughts, feelings, etc. And that's what happened this weekend. I just said I don't have capacity to receive what you're saying right now. I'm thinking about how I feel. Can we have this discussion later?
Mhm.
And it felt good to do that.
There's a note I wanted to share from crucial conversations that one of the steps is talking about retaking your pen in the conversation. How can you get back to safety for
Mhm.
yourself? And it's an acronym CURE: collect yourself, understand what happened, recover, and then engage or re-engage, right? And so I would invite folks, like, you can always retake your pen out of the conversation anytime you want because that is your pen. It is no one else's. It's yours.
Mhm.
And when you are ready to get back into the conversation, try.
Um, Jasmine put a great one in the chat. She said, "When I tell someone I don't want to talk about it, it may or may not turn into negative comeback." So, my question for you, Herb, is what if I had said, "I don't have capacity to receive this. Can I talk about this later with you?" And they take it in a negative direction. Um,
That and it's that and but thing. I do this a lot. 6, 7, right? That thing. I would encourage folks to not just say, "I'm not ready to have this conversation right now." Folks are gonna hear that negatively. You want to say, "Thank you so much for sharing. I hear where you're coming from, but I am not in a place to receive this information. And could we engage about this later?" So it sounds like you're making excuses for the other person. And it's not so much that. Part of what crucial conversation encourages you to think about is put yourself in the other person's shoes. So
Mhm.
if you heard in a conversation, "I don't have time to talk about that," you're going to act really defensive, right? As nasty or as mean as that person might be. So give the situation grace enough to take the higher road and try for that elusive and or but, like contrasting statements, right? And those are received much more softly in interpersonal conversations than just like a declarative statement, no, like stop talking.
I I have a personal example about this. I like to stay informed on women's health issues. That's one of the topics that I always am seeking information or and equality. And my very loving husband is always scanning the news, and he sends me articles and
Oof.
reels and blog posts all
mm,
the time because he knows that I want to stay on top of this. Uh, and it's become very overwhelming. And I have started things. I'll say my name for him is Hun. I call my husband Hun, and I'll say, Hun, I really appreciate you sending me this stuff. You know that it's important to me, and I appreciate that. I am not in a good space to take this information in. I just can't do it. I can't talk about it. I can't see it. I can't process it. And sometimes his response is, well, why? Like, but this is important and you need to know, and other people should be knowing about this. And my response to him is, it's true, but I'm not the only one responsible for educating others about what's happening, number one. And number two, I am so overwhelmed by this information that it's making it hard for me to engage in daily life with you.
The elusive butt. It was in there. I heard it.
That is some of the most honest conversations I've had with my husband, maybe ever. Because, like, I think many of us with the disease of obesity, we don't want to be real about our feelings and emotions. We don't want to say that we can't do something. We don't want to say that we can't handle something, especially when I've told somebody this is really important to me. But that elusive but and that honest pushback um, is what was needed. And he'll still send me things time to time. Or what I appreciate now, he'll say, hey, I found this article about XYZ. Would you like to see it? I appreciate having the choice in that. And it's still a conversation that we have to have over and over again because I my my ability to to take inputs has drastically been reduced in the last few years and few months. And I have to control those inputs, even from the people I love the most. I have to be able to have this conversation with them because I'm not going to be able to continue if it goes this way.
And what's really important with the story that you just shared is what you shared on the other side of the butt is grounded in truth.
Mhm.
You recognize what you're saying or how you're feeling enough to speak truthfully. It wasn't just like, I just can't stand it, right? But you took the emotion out of it. You stood outside of yourself and you named what is the issue. The issue is I am feeling information overload. Could we share this at a different time or in a different way, right? So these are really hard things to practice, but I would encourage folks in order to keep your cups full and maintain your bariatric selves, really like focus on honesty and what's at the root of the feeling that you're feeling.
Mhm.
And that's hard to do when we spent our whole life
Hard.
not checking in with ourselves, not naming it, being invisible. As I see in the comments here, we work really hard to be invisible. The disease of obesity, let me reframe. The disease of obesity often asks us to be invisible or to shrink as far as we can go. And part of reclaiming our voice and our story, and I pinned Justine's comment here, is learning how to do that in a way that is safe for us. I never asked before surgery what was safe for me or not. I just said yes to everything because it was an opportunity coming my way and I felt like I didn't deserve it.
Mhm.
And as we reclaim our body and as we reclaim our voice, this is an important thing to work on. And this is where that yes and comes in. Yes, you may feel that the world is on fire and you still are working to reclaim your voice and your body. There is space in you to do both, but you need to do both intentionally. And
Mhm.
that's really what is at the heart of our conversation here tonight.
And I think
Reclaiming my bod, the whole Maxine Waters. I'm sorry, I digress. I interrupted you, Nat.
No, you're good. I just yeah, I relate to what both of you, said, and I think too, it's again the disease of obesity that keeps us stifled a lot of times. Um, it's okay to say, like April said, I've said this with my mom. Yeah, show me new health, dietary things. Like I want to see it. Lately, it's inundated. There's a lot of things happening in the health world. And same thing, my mom has been sending me all of these things, and I did put emotion into it because I said, I it's too much. Don't send me, please don't send me everything that you come across." And she said, "Well, why?" Just like your husband did, April. And I said, "Because it hurts. Because
Mhm.
it makes me feel shame. It makes me feel like I'm still doing things wrong. You fill in the blank." I said it brings up all of those previous memories of the failed diets, the failed this or that. Um, and I can't. I cannot take it. Um, and this was a recent conversation, so we'll see how it pans out. But I think exactly what you said, Herb, boils down to honesty and just saying, it really hurts me because of, XYZ um, reason. And it's hard to say that out loud. It's hard to say that you're hurt. It's hard to say that we named our feelings at the beginning of this. It's hard to say those things. I just want to say that I'm good and I'm happy and nothing is wrong. But that's not always the case. And just being honest with ourselves um, can have impacts outside of even that conversation.
Are you in a place where you could accept some coaching about the conversation you had?
Yeah.
My suggestion is couple the honesty with that and or but situation.
Mhm.
So it's not the compliment sandwich, but if you approached it as your mom, right?
Mhm.
If you said to your mom, I'm sure you're coming from a good place, but this is really hurtful and it makes me feel shame or it makes me feel this.
Mhm.
That's the one thing that Crucial Conversation tries to teach you about softening the landing for the truth for the recipient on the
Mhm.
other end of the conversation.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah.
excuse making? Some people might argue that it is, but at the end of the day, you're trying to have a successful and loving relationship with the other person, right?
Yeah.
And so, in order to do that, there are other tools available to try to help the message get received by the other party.
Yeah. And you know, uh, I have been working really hard to not let my emotions, right, guide what I say. But in that moment, I just flat out said, it's hurtful. It makes me feel all of these things. Um, and I mean, I could tell she understood it to an extent, right? She didn't grow up with the same
Good.
um, challenges and difficulties that I did. But she took it and she said, okay, I'll try to do better. And it ended up being a good conversation. But I'm learning, right? Like, Cindy said that she needs these tools too. It's like, I need these tools. I need to learn how to have these conversations because I'm not perfect in that either.
And it takes practice. And that's why communities like BariNation are so great because we can practice these sorts of conversations with each other, right?
Mm.
Oh my God. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had recently in BariNation support groups. Grady is having bariatric surgery. And I've got all kinds of feelings about it that I didn't even know. And it has been so helpful for me to go into that space and go, okay, here's what I'm really thinking. This is what I'm really thinking. And I am not met with wide eyes. I'm not met with there's no clutching of the pearls. Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
What else could that mean? Or have you talked to him about this yet? My answer is always no. And then it's an opportunity, right, to go, well, how do I even tell him that I'm feeling this? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, so you mean I could say, oh, it's
Mhm.
important. It's the human connection. It's a place for our real, true feelings to land without judgment or shame. And it's an opportunity to get those feelings out and practice expressing what you really, truly not only feel, but mean.
Mhm.
And that's really difficult.
It's hard work being a human being, isn't it?
It
An
is.
obese a human being battling the disease of obesity, I should add.
That's a double whammy. That's a double whammy right there.
Are we blessed?
Oh.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag love. Live, laugh, love.
Oh my goodness, friends. Oh, again, this happens every time. We're almost at our time. I'd like to do a quick read. I know. If you found this conversation valuable, or if you are catching the replay and you would like to continue this conversation, or somebody said something really that has sparked an aha moment for you and you'd like a deeper dive in that, please just let us know. You can send us a direct message here on Instagram. It's just Jason, Natalie, and I behind the inbox. You can send us an email to hello@BariNation.com. You can send us an email in the support community in BariNation. And if you would like to stay in touch with us, but you think that you are going to be limiting some of your time on social media, you can join our email list. We send it out once a week. To recap, hold space for your feelings. Work hard to name them. Use that tool that Herb and Natalie both talked about tonight. If something is really bothering you up here, take it out, look at it, understand what it is, and say, can I do something with this now or can I not? Yes, right? Limit your inputs. It is okay to put your phone down. It is okay to take social media apps off. It's okay to delete and deactivate. It's okay to only check the news for 5 minutes once a day. And when you get to the state of feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, and lost, one of the most accessible things that could be in your toolbox is talking with another human in real time, virtually or in person. It's
Janie, you can watch the replay here on Instagram. It lives on our grid. Every live that we do on Instagram lives here. We are working really hard to figure out how slash if we can ever download them and put them in the community. But for right now, all of our Struggle Bus lives are on our Instagram profile grid.
And we will share the link to this recording in our newsletter this week. So if you would like to receive our newsletter, just comment the word email on this, either the live or the replay, or you can send us a DM and we'll send you the link to sign up. Herb, you are a special guest tonight. We'd love to give you the last word.
I have a good one. It's one of the steps from Crucial Conversations. It is called Start with the Heart. When you're having these conversations with yourself, always start with your heart. What do you really want right now? What would you like to see happen for yourself? How would you behave if you really wanted those results? That's a tough part. And what should you do right now to move toward what you really want? Mic drop. I know. Sorry, friends. We got another hour, right?
I think we'll need like 12 at this
Yeah. Can I also just say, remember to breathe?
Mm-hmm.
We did it at the top. Take some deep breaths.
The world is on fire for a lot of people, but you are not the only firefighter.
Boom.
We are all can remain in control. We all can protect our agency. And if we choose to take action, it will be there for us if we are taking care of ourselves first. So we hope this discussion tonight helped you a little bit. We'd love to know if you got anything out of it. But just thank you all for showing up, for being present, for leading into a difficult conversation about something nobody wants to be happening or talking about. But we appreciate your willingness to share the space with us and to join in this very important conversation. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Herb. Deeply appreciate you. All right, guys,
You all.
have a great night. See you
Love
in
ya.
the nation. See you in the nation soon.